The interrogation room at CTU was cold by design. Concrete walls painted institutional grey, a single metal table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs facing off across its scarred surface. Jack Bauer had spent enough time in rooms like this to know that temperature was a tool. Cold kept people sharp. Cold kept them uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people made mistakes. The man sitting across from him was named Marcus Reeves, age 43, former military contractor, found at the warehouse 3 hours after the explosion, trying to slip out through a loading dock. He had a fake ID in his pocket and enough cash to book a flight to Mexico City by midnight. Jack opened the folder on the table. Inside were photographs of the dead: the security guard, the 2 maintenance workers, the administrative assistant who'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Reeves's eyes flickered across them but didn't linger. "You're not going to say anything?" Jack asked. Not really a question. More of an observation. He pulled out a chair and sat down, the metal scraping against concrete. "That's fine. I've got time. More than you do, actually." Reeves had a lawyer coming. Some expensive firm in downtown Los Angeles. But that call wouldn't go through until the lawyer's office opened in the morning. Right now, it was just the 2 of them. And the clock. It was always the clock. "Here's what we know," Jack continued, leaning back slightly. "You were at the warehouse. Multiple witnesses put you there. You were wearing maintenance coveralls. You had access to the ventilation system. And you ran. That's not the behavior of an innocent man, Marcus. That's the behavior of someone who knew what was coming." Reeves's jaw tightened. His hands, resting on the table, formed fists. "Who hired you?" Jack asked. The question was direct. No preamble, no build-up, just the essential inquiry. "Who gave you the order?" "I want my lawyer," Reeves said. His voice was rough, like gravel in a throat. "I'm not saying anything else until my lawyer is present." Jack had expected that. He'd also expected it wouldn't matter, because while Jack was sitting here with Reeves, Chloe was working the financial angle, and financial trails didn't lie. They couldn't be coached or threatened or convinced to stay silent. Money always left a trace. He stood up and left the room without another word. Chloe was at her workstation on the operations floor when Jack found her. Multiple screens glowed before her, each one displaying columns of numbers, transaction records, wire transfers. Her fingers moved across her keyboard with practiced precision, following threads through the digital underworld like an archaeologist tracing ancient pathways. "Tell me you found something," Jack said. Chloe didn't look away from her screens. "I found something. You're not going to like it." "I don't like any of this. What is it?" She turned to face him then, and Jack could see the tension in her face, the exhaustion, the weight of what she'd uncovered. The money trail leads back to a shell corporation registered in the Cayman Islands. That corporation has been dormant for 6 years, but 3 weeks ago, it suddenly became active. Large transfers started flowing out. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, all of them going to different accounts, different names. But one name kept appearing. Jack waited. He'd learned long ago that Chloe wouldn't make him guess. She'd get to it. "Richard Cross," she said finally. The name hit Jack like a physical blow. He hadn't heard it in years, hadn't wanted to hear it. Richard Cross, his former handler, the man who'd recruited him into the covert side of government work, the man who disappeared 8 years ago during an operation in Eastern Europe, an operation that had gone catastrophically wrong, an operation that had left 3 agents dead and Jack with questions he'd never gotten answered. "Are you certain?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. Chloe didn't make mistakes with numbers. The digital signature on the account authorization is a 97% match to the one on file from Cross's employment records at the agency. "It's him, Jack. or someone who knows his systems well enough to mimic them perfectly. Either way, he's connected to this. He's connected to all of it. Jack felt something shift inside him. The investigation had just taken a turn he wasn't prepared for. What about the foreign governments? That's where it gets worse, Chloe said. She pulled up another screen. The money flowing out of Cross's accounts has been going to intermediaries in 6 different countries: Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and 2 others we're still trying to identify. This isn't a domestic operation, Jack. This is international. This is big. Before Jack could respond, his radio crackled. It was Morris from the security desk. His voice was tight, controlled, but there was an edge to it that Jack recognized immediately. The edge of someone delivering bad news. "We have a situation," Morris said. "Director Hastings is requesting your presence in his office immediately." Jack and Chloe exchanged a look. They both knew what that meant. Someone had talked. Someone had told Hastings about the Cross connection. And now the questions would start. The political questions. The career-ending questions. "On my way," Jack said into his radio. As he walked toward Hastings' office, Jack's mind was already working through the implications. If Cross was alive, if he was behind this, then everything Jack thought he knew about the man's disappearance was wrong. Cross had been declared dead. His funeral had been held. His wife had moved on with her life. But dead men didn't set up shell corporations. Dead men didn't orchestrate attacks on American soil. Dead men didn't come back, unless they'd never really been dead at all. The hallways of CTU seemed longer than usual. Jack could feel eyes on him as he walked. Staff members who'd heard the rumors, who knew something had shifted, who were starting to wonder if the man they'd worked beside for years could be compromised, could be connected to this. Trust. That was the real casualty of situations like this. Not lives, though those mattered. Not buildings, though those could be rebuilt. But trust. Trust was the foundation that everything else was built on. And once it started to crack, the whole structure came down. Jack reached Hastings' office and knocked. The director was waiting for him, standing by the window that overlooked Los Angeles. The city sprawled out beneath them, millions of people living their lives, unaware of the conspiracy unfolding in the shadows. "Sit down, Jack," Hastings said without turning around. Jack sat. He didn't speak. He waited for the accusations, for the suspension, for the moment when his career at CTU ended. Instead, Hastings turned to face him, and Jack saw something in the director's expression that he hadn't expected. Not anger, not suspicion, but fear. Genuine, undisguised fear. "Tell me about Richard Cross," Hastings said quietly, and Jack understood then that this was far worse than he'd imagined, because if Hastings was afraid, if the director of CTU was genuinely afraid, then the conspiracy didn't just stretch across agencies and foreign governments. It reached into the highest levels of power. It reached into places where Jack couldn't touch it, places where it could destroy him before he ever got close to the truth. The clock was still ticking, but now Jack wasn't sure if he was trying to stop the conspiracy or if the conspiracy was trying to stop him.